Yeah, it's interesting. I never heard this film, until you gave. That's why I love doing this kind of stuff, because we get to see films like Atlantics, that I would never go near otherwise,
Yeah,
or I
totally.
wouldn't see.
If I saw something
You know
for
what I mean?
Atlantics, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to watch that.
No, and it's brilliant, and we're missing out. And same with this one. This is like a film I'd never
Exactly.
see.
Probably, and I would never have, thought about looking at this either. I actually recommended it to somebody even.
Yeah, I knew of the film, but to be honest, it didn't look all that appealing to me. And it wasn't until I heard an interview with the guys that made it that kind of motivated me to want to see it.
Yeah, because it is fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, the story behind it.
Oh, so should we go straight into it then?
Yeah,
we're actually talking about it?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this.
Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe so that you don't have to. Will you agree with our esteemed independent film experts, or will they agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, are Claire Milan.
Hello.
And Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right. Today, we're going to jump right into it and talk about a film called The Peanut Butter Falcon. So this was written by Tylor, Nilson, and Michael Schwartz, and it follows a guy by the name of Zack Gottsagen. Sorry, I'm pronouncing your last name, Zach, incorrectly.
We're terrible at pronouncing surnames here.
Yeah. Gottsagen. His character is also named Zach in the film, and Shia LaBeouf, who plays Tylor. And basically what this is Zach has Down syndrome in real life and in the movie. And he is in a old folks home kind of due to the system placing him there, not because he needs to be there. He's only in his early 20s, but because that's kind of really the only place they could find to put him, since he doesn't really have any family versus like a home that might be more appropriate. But kind of as we learned right away is Zach does not want to be in the does not want to be in the home. He wants to learn how to be a wrestler and kind of be out in the world. And so he quickly escapes and encounters Shia's character, Tylor, who is a renegade fisherman, I guess is the way to describe it. He's basically a crabber in the South, and he gets into conflict with fellow crabbers, burns their crab pot pile, and kind of has to go on in a bit of the run. And that's where the two of them get together. Zach is trying to get to a wrestling camp and learn how to be a wrestler. And what this film really is kind of that hero's journey type film. So we've all kind of seen this before: The Odyssey, On the Road, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Huck Finn, et cetera, of your heroes going on a journey, encountering various characters along the way, to the point of even having that stereotypical blind black man who's a religious person who baptizes him in the water and that kind of stuff. But it's really, to me, what it is it's a film to kind of show us that you can have people with, disabilities or different abilities or, differently abled or whatever the latest PC term is. You can have them star in a film and do a great job, which I think Zach does in this film. And I know I have a lot of trivia about this film that we can kind of get into maybe later if you guys want, because I've heard a few interviews with the filmmakers of it. So the story of the making of this film is almost more interesting to me than the film itself, because the film itself, it's not all that great in regards to the storyline. We've heard it before, but it is great in regards to that relationship between Shia and Zach's characters and the bond that they form as they kind of go and on this journey. They also, I guess I should mention, Dakota Johnson's in it. She plays a character called Eleanor, and she is the caretaker at the home. And so when Zach escapes, she has to go after him and kind of get him back. And it's Dakota Johnson. I mean, to be honest, I think she has more potential and talent than in anything she's ever done. I hope she does, because she's kind of bland in this, and she's kind of bland in everything she does, in my opinion. And I don't know if she just doesn't want to take risks with her characters or what, but but
I think
she's okay.
I think it's interesting. She does play kind of safe characters, and this is a very safe character. But I definitely think she'll grow into herself as an actress. I think she's only 27, but I'd say when she hits her early 30s, she's going to hit the mark. You know, but I think as an actress, she's still kind of finding herself. So it was interesting to see her in a part like this in a small independent film. You know, and Bruce Dern as well is in it.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Bruce Dern, you know. So.
The funny thing about Dakota Johnson, just to kind of deviate a little bit from the film, I just looked her up on IMDb there, and she's real kind of Hollywood royalty, like she's descended from. And I had to laugh when they talked about her half sister Stella Banderas.
Oh yeah.
yeah. She's Don Johnson's daughter. Tippy, what's her name? Tippy Hendrick? Tippy Hendrick?
Yeah.
And is her grandmother, like, so.
Melanie Griffith as well.
And Melanie Griffiths, of course, is her mother. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love her because she put Ellen DeGeneres in her place. There's a famous interview she has, Dakota Johnson and Ellen, and Ellen says, Dakota, you didn't invite me to your birthday party. And Dakota then says, no, that's lies. Do you remember? I did. And it's just brilliant. So it all came out. I just really, I'd say she seemed like she's kind of a lovely person or something. You know, I just love the interview because she's Hollywood royalty, so she can't be touched by any of that.
That's the thing. When I see her in interviews.
1989, she was born according to it, so that makes her early 30s then.
Yeah, very. But yeah, when I see her in interviews, she seems reasonably interesting. I saw an interview she did with Jimmy Kimmel as well, and she seems like an interesting person. It's just I'd like to see her take more risks. I mean, I know she did the Grey, Shades of Grey series, but she was. I didn't really watch it. I've seen clips from it, and she was kind of bland in that as well. And it's just kind of. Yeah, I'd like to. I think she has potential. I'd like to see her do a bit more.
She's in that really weird film, Suspiria, is it? Or Suspiria, I think it's called, with the dance teacher. Yeah,
well, I think we owe it to the film here. We're talking about to talk about the actual film.
Oh yes,
that leads us nicely into talking about Dakota fighting for half an hour.
And that is the film. And now your ratings on Dakota Fanning's performance.
But yeah, it was kind of so. I sat down there. Yesterday afternoon to watch it, and again, I would never have kind of watched this film. It didn't look appealing to me, I flicked through Netflix. I didn't even know Shia LaBeouf was in it, and we could probably talk more about him later. But I was just, when I started watching it, immediately I was absorbed in it because again, you don't get many Down syndrome actors. And I recently watched Away with Hilary Swank. It's a series on Netflix, and again, there's a Down syndrome actress in it. And so it's just, I hope this is a trend because when you watch the performance of Zack Gottsagen,
I'm not the only one.
Sorry, it's so magical, and because the history, well, just about Zack, he was discovered at a drama camp by the two writer-directors. And he went up to them and was like, I want to be an actor, a professional actor. And people were saying to him, oh no, it's not possible, but he was like certain this is what he wants to do. And he when the writer-directors went to the camp, he talks to them and they decided to make a film based around Zack because there was just something about him. And so they went away and they made a proof of concept for $20,000. And while Shia LaBeouf was in Lapland at some sort of self-imposed retreat, he kept watching the proof of concept over and over again, and he was so taken aback by this actor, he agreed to be in the project.
Yeah, and he wasn't originally supposed to do it. Actually, there were a few other major league actors that were originally going to do the role, but had to drop out due to other reasons, and so it ended up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. But it was just, it was such a, it is kind of a story you've seen a million times, these kind of road movies, I suppose you'd call them. But yeah, it was just something about that actor. And again, Shia LaBeouf, I haven't seen him in much in a while, or I associate him with Transformers. He wouldn't be an actor that I would kind of go to see. But I just loved his performance in this. And I'm really curious to see other films now with Shia LaBeouf in it. Because he's kind of, there's a bit of a renaissance happening at the moment with Shia LaBeouf. And there's a film with an actress, Vanessa Kirby, that's done really well recently in Toronto, and he's in it as well.
Well, I saw him recently, and in fact he almost played the exact same character as far as I'm concerned. American Honey, the Andrea Arnold.
Okay.
And it was like just a reprisal of that character, almost like this sort of loner drifter living on the edges of society sort of thing. But it was fine. It was I didn't object to it in any way, but it was little bit derivative of that. But as for the film itself, you'd want to have a heart of stone, not to have like this. And as the saying goes, hold my beer. I'm only joking. I did like it. And it for me, it wasn't hyper. It wasn't hugely original, and it had a sort of a certain, as you might have said, the hero's journey kind of setup, and but it had just the right amount of sentiment. I thought, didn't go overboard, and obviously it was trying to deliver a message as well. That Down syndrome, that they're capable and they deserve an opportunity just like everybody else. But there was one or two things that just kind of thought to myself I wasn't convinced about. Just from a plot point of view, for instance, when he set fire to the harbour and they chased after him, why did they chase after him? Like, why didn't they just try and put the fire out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's kind of one of those things where stuff happens, and and then if you analyze it too much, you're kind of like, oh, that's just a plot point to get it back to a certain point, But then you just forget, for some reason, some films you see these devices so obviously, and it's like, oh, but this one, it didn't bother me. It's like he was on his way, and then Zack, he was diving. He was about to be pushed off a diving board by this young bully, and Tylor has to come back. Because he's when he hops into the van, the guy driving the van said, "Oh, he heard someone set fire to the docks." So he has to hop out of the van and go back to where he was. Then he meets Zack again. That's kind of device to get them back together. So there is like plot point like that in it, but it didn't bother me at all.
No, I wouldn't say I was overly bothered, but there was one sort of amusing from it was an amusing film. Let's be honest about it. But there was one point as well where the Shia LaBeouf character is telling him, what are the rules? And he'd only just told them like 2 minutes ago, what the rules were. And I was thinking to myself, I can't remember what the rules are. And then I said, well, what's the rule? And he goes, the rule is you're in charge, And he goes, what's the rule? And he goes, I don't know. And he goes, the number one rule is don't slow me down. And I was, don't slow me down. That's what it is. And then he asked him again, so what's the number one rule? And Zack goes, you're in charge.
To party.
Hey, what's rule number one? Party? No, not party.
There's one scene in it that really stood out for me. They've made the boat, and it's like a floating device. I wouldn't even call it a boat, But they're sitting there, and Shia's character, he's a flashback to his brother. Something happened to his brother, and he feels really guilty. And then Zack puts his hand on the back of Shia's character to comfort him because he's really upset. And there's actually a history to that scene. I didn't realize this, but during the making of this film, Shia LaBeouf was arrested in real life because he was constantly getting drunk. And there's footage, very famous footage, of him getting arrested because it's filmed in Georgia by the cops. And he and Zack was devastated. Like in real life, he thought the film was going to go under, and he gave out to Shia, and Shia felt so guilty that Zack comforted him. This is all real, but in that scene, the cameras were rolling. I didn't even realize. It wasn't like it was just a real moment. Like it was just the camera. They wanted to capture something, and it was just because he felt so guilty about what he did in real life. Like getting arrested and put the film in jeopardy. So it was just so beautiful that was like a real moment that was captured in camera.
Yeah. Shia seems like a very emotional person. I mean, you hear about his antics and stuff, and he takes his performances very seriously. But I also think he was a good person to have in this film. He definitely worked for that character really well. And it's interesting. Here's a piece of trivia, that when after the film got made, they couldn't find distribution for it, and so the filmmakers, the two guys, were trying to get distribution, and they got somebody else to give them some additional funding. And what they would do is they'd actually rent theaters like in LA, New York, and stuff, and show the film in order to get the word of mouth going. And Shia LaBeouf and the filmmakers would actually show up to those screenings to to do audience QAs and stuff like that. And what the guys were saying in the podcast I was listening to, which I'd recommend, it's No Film School. If you listen to the No Film School podcast, they do an interview with the guys. And anyway, so Shia LaBeouf was basically saying, like, if I'm going to be involved in this film, I'm like 100% into this film. So you guys need to be there with me. So I'm going to go down and do all, and he's just such an intense person that you can believe that's him. Like when he's out there on the stage or doing that scene where he probably does feel really bad about what happened, and that he let Zack down and the film down. So, he's hit and miss with me as an actor. But it is kind of, I think he was definitely the right person for this role.
Well, wasn't there a couple of guys did something similar this year during the pandemic? They made a kind of a low budget feature, which was never ever going to be seen by anybody, more or less. And but because like the major studios, that they weren't releasing their films, so that they actually rented a whole load of theaters and had their film shown to empty theaters, by the way. But because it was shown, and it was recorded that it was shown and so on, that they actually went up the list of the top box office hits of the summer or something like that,
Oh yeah, because they had nothing to compete against. That's really clever. Right. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah,
that's very clever, because there's no audience and nothing in the cinema. So if you put your film in, it's going to be the top.
Yeah.
It cost them money to do it, but it might have been worth it in the end.
But it's funny because this actually ended up being one of the biggest grossing films in grossing independent feature films in 2019. So it grossed $23 million. So in the end, it worked,
For a film that couldn't get distribution, it couldn't get made. Like
crazy.
when they shopped it around, they were basically saying, like, this is the guy that's going to play the lead character. And a lot of the studios were like, what? No, we can't have an autistic person in the lead character that nobody's ever heard of.
Or Down syndrome.
Well, but if you think about it, it had Shia LaBeouf, it had Dakota Johnson, it had Bruce Dern, Thomas Hayden Church. He's quite pretty well known too.
Yeah, he is. Yes.
So if I made a film with those actors, I'd be damn disappointed if I couldn't get
distribution.
It was interesting because it's they made the proof of concept for $20,000 with Zack. So I think that was at that stage they were probably saying no. And then when it sent to Shia and he loved it, and when he was on board, it probably got more interest,
So if I remember correctly, which I might not remember correctly, but from the podcast interview, the guy, what's his name?
The writer, is it?
No, he's not actually in the film. So
the director, the writer.
No, he's an actor.
An actor who's not in the film.
Yeah. Okay. So because he originally signed on to do it, Josh Brolin. Sorry, I was actually just trying to look it up, but then I remembered. So apparently, Josh Brolin saw the thing and kind of wanted to be involved in the film, and so Josh Brolin kind of said, so the guys started basically saying, "Hey, we've got Josh Brolin attached to play the main character," and that's actually what helped draw everybody else in. But then Josh Brolin had to drop out, and then whoever replaced Josh Brolin, that person had to drop out, and that's how Shia got into it. But yeah, so they literally shopped it around for years, and nobody wanted to do it. And it wasn't until Josh and then Shia and all the other people were heard about it. So it's weird how that works in Hollywood. Like if you've got nobody attached to it, nobody wants to have anything to do with it, and then you get one well-named actor involved, and then suddenly everybody else is like, "Oh, I want to be involved as well."
Yeah, that's why actors have so much power. Really, they just have to
I hope it's Josh Brolin. I hope I'm repeating that correctly, because this would be.
I just read as well that one of the right directors, I think Tylor. It's funny because they call Tylor, there's Tylor in the film, and then Zack is playing Zack.
Yeah.
But he actually lives in a tent in LA, I think, for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, they had like no money when they were shopping this film around. But I guess back to Zack is fantastic. I mean, when it comes down to like, he's, I think, what made this film, in my opinion. He was so willing to do everything. I mean, they had him running around in his, but they had him running around in his underwear, like, just all the kind of stuff that he was so willing to do to be a lead.
Yeah, he got the impression that his real life character is a lot cannier than the character he portrayed on screen, definitely.
Yeah.
Apparently they're best friends now, aren't they? They're like really, really good friends. And they presented the Academy Award this year for the best short live action film together. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's nice.
So they seemed like genuinely really good friends. And then when Zack gave out to Shia when he got drunk and he came back, it was like, he's like, Shia said, he saved me,
Yeah, according to the article you sent us earlier, Terry, hasn't Shia LaBeouf said that Zack saved his life? That he hasn't, ever since that incident which you mentioned, he hasn't actually drank any alcohol. Yeah. So he's been teetotal for 2 years because of it. Yeah.
And it's like, because it is so humiliating, because I looked up the footage earlier. It's all on YouTube, just out of curiosity. But after this, Shia ended up in rehab, and during rehab, as part of therapy, he started writing a script about his father, which ended up in another film called Honey Boy, which is now on Amazon. And he plays his father in the film. So it's one to check out as well.
Sweet. All right. Shall we rate it?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I go. So I just think it's such a beautiful film. If you're looking for a nice afternoon film, nothing too harsh, you might shed a tear or two, but it's amazing performance from the lead actor, and it's great to see Shia LaBeouf back on screen, playing a really interesting character. Great camaraderie between them, and it's beautiful, beautiful story. So I'll give it 4 out of 5.
Oh wow. Well, I have to admit that I did like it, but I wasn't gripped by it. I wasn't riveted by it. It took me 3 or 4 sittings to watch it. Not because I was watching a bit and I said, I can't keep going. It was, I just took an opportunity where I could. And
it's because you're too used to watching short films, isn't it? You're turning into into a millennial, your attention span.
Maybe it's my fault. But but I don't want to be too harsh either. Like it was a very, very nice, pleasant, feel good film. So I'll give it 3.5.
Yeah, I liked it too. I'm gonna go 4. I mean, I'd probably lean a bit more towards 3 on the film itself, but just knowing all of the story around the making of the film makes me enjoy it that much more. And so I think it's worth bumping it up to a 4. All right, No Budget audience, there you have it. So we really enjoyed this film and would recommend you go out and watch it. As always, you can let us know what you think via a comment, a review, reaching out to us on social media at No Budget Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And with that, we will say, see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.